Once you believed that you were going to be healed, what did it take to fight and to be victorious over cancer?
Um, what did it take? Well, the first thing was that me understanding that this entire process or journey was really not about me.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I very early on I realized that I was impacting the people around me,
Mm,
and seeing their, just the way they were reacting to what I was going through. And I was very honest from the very beginning, in telling people that, I was diagnosed and this is the situation. And I worked in the bank, and I had an awesome relationship with everybody that I worked with. And the process of, first of all, it humbled me in the sense that everything that I needed, I didn't have. So I needed help from other people,
I
even
love that.
financial help.
Hmm.
So I had to humble myself and ask, can you help me? Even in terms of, so like I said, Christmas Day, um, in order for me to go to MD Anderson to start the process, we needed to give them $25,000. I didn't have that, right? My family at the time did not have that, where we could just find doctors like, you need to start treatment right away. Mind you, I had insurance,
Hmm.
but I still needed to
You
come
needed
up
the upfront
the
money.
upfront money to
Hmm.
begin the process. And
Hmm.
not only that, but I was diagnosed around Christmas time, and everything is closed. The insurance company closed, the hospital closed, everything was closed. So so it was like, what? How how is this going to happen? So we got the monies to get me to go over there to get started. And when I got there, we gave them the money. We started treatment, and the doctors were like, you'll have to be here for about a year.
Oh my
And I'm like,
goodness.
I can't be here for a year because I'm not from here. I don't know nobody who live here. And I remember saying, okay, you know what? I'm gonna need help. I called back. There was this wonderful lady who worked with me at the bank, Audrey Colbert. And with me having to stay there, I had to come up with money for housing and transportation, food, all this stuff outside of cancer treatment. So the bank fundraised, Mrs. Colbrook, who is passed, God rest her soul, fundraised $30,000 to pay for all of my living expenses. So the community began
Oh.
with just, I need,
Mm.
I need your help me. So I really had to humble myself and say, I mean, I'm a humble person, but, you know, to be able to ask somebody for something, it takes a lot of courage. I don't care what nobody say.
Yeah, it
And
does.
persons, I admire people that can do that. Like, can I
Hmm.
have those glasses? Or,
Hmm.
can you buy me something to eat? Or,
But this was a different thing. This was I need $30,000, and
yeah,
it's a whole different ball
yeah,
game.
yeah. But it's still the ask.
Absolutely,
And a
it's a
lot
big
of us,
ask. That's the
it's
point.
it's a big ask.
Uh
But
huh.
even with small acts, persons are very intimidated that they
Hmm.
don't even want to,
Yes.
act a little small,
Yes.
and so I had to humble myself. And I realized that I needed help, and this was beyond me. And that was the beginning of creating the community.
Cancer didn't come for you; it came for the people around you. Help us understand that.
um I think that it's a lesson for all of us, in the sense that, you know what, it happened to me in my physical body, yes. And in terms of the people around me, you know getting them to realize and understand that, hey, this is not necessarily about Melissa, but there is something that can be contributed from each of you in terms of my healing process. And like, for instance, with my family, um that's my family. It's expected that they would be there, and certain things that they would do. when it came to my coworkers at the bank, nobody would have ever thought that Mrs. Colbrook would have said, um, I'm gonna do this big cookout, and who in their right mind? Have you ever done a cookout or anything?
I
Have
know
you
it's,
ever fundraised $30,000?
yeah, yeah.
That is not easy,
Mm-hmm.
And then there were people that I did not even know that they would come to me and they would like bring me scriptures and healing words, and this is how you pray. And mind you, I went to church, and I went to church and I did the God thing, but I wasn't as involved in that spiritual community as I am now.
Yes.
Or I didn't have a spiritual understanding like I do now.
Mm-hmm.
But I had the people that came to me and said, this is how you pray.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you read. This is what you sing. And this is what you do. And then of course, you do have those people that always the negative stuff. So you just have to know when to, cut them out.
Mm-hmm.
But we all had a lesson in this to learn, whether it was somebody that was teaching, giving, receiving, or even in terms of someone just identifying, okay, this could be me.
Absolutely. This is my gift.
Yeah.
This is what I've been
Yeah.
put here to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or right now, every from the moment that I was diagnosed, and I was done with treatment and I came back home. One of the reasons why I got so involved was because my friends started dying,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And my friends were dying like, I mean, I couldn't even like of cancer, and they were young. And so I started questioning, what are we doing? How come I went and I was so successful, but everybody else is dying? And I started to see myself. As I meet cancer patients, I started to see myself. And it was like, Melissa, that's you. You've been down that road. You know what it feels like to have no resources. You know what it feels like for someone to say, you're going to die. You know what it feels like when the doctor says, um, you have one more treatment to go. And then when you go back, he says, oh, it looks like we didn't get it all.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. You know what it feels like when you have, 2 more days of radiation and you get a call that says your Grammy's gonna die, but unfortunately you won't get to see her, you won't get to talk to her.
Mm.
You
Even
know?
in the midst of your own battle.
In the midst of my own battle, I was going through battles. So for persons to say, or even, for persons to come and say, well, um, I'm going through this. I'm losing my family, wives losing their husbands. And it was horrible. Like, I'm like, okay, God, like, what is it? What is it? But one of my girlfriends was diagnosed, and I started going, anyone that I know was diagnosed with cancer, I started going with them to their treatment.
Oh, wow.
And that's how I started the process of advocating on behalf of patients, being there for patients, talking with patients. I just started, and it all started with me working in the bank in person saying, you know what, Melissa just been through treatment. Why don't you go and talk to her? And so when they come and talk, I would just open up. And before I know it, people were like flocking in.
You use a powerful word, and the word is advocate.
Yeah.
How do you see that? How do you see yourself as an advocate?
And the thing is, people are so afraid of that word because
It's a word I love, by the way.
I love the word, and people become fearful when they hear the word because they think of it as such a bad thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why do they associate that?
Because they consider it to be ruffling feathers.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you define it? Define advocate for
me. The thing about it is I'm being a voice for somebody who doesn't have one at the moment.
Or doesn't even know enough.
Or doesn't even know enough.
Right.
Correct. And I went through the process, and it was, MD Anderson is the number one cancer center in the United States, possibly the world. And it's been that way from the time I was there. And I don't think it's no coincidence that I ended up at MD Anderson Cancer Center. And
It wasn't.
it wasn't, you know what I'm saying? And the doctors were absolutely amazing. They educated me on my entire journey, and they taught me how to basically continue. Um, they taught me how to, okay, Melissa, this is what you need, and this is how you look for it, and this is what you do, and this is how you make the decisions. And even my oncology team here has been absolutely, Dr. John Lunn has been, he's an amazing man. And he often says, you don't trust me enough. And I'm like, yeah, I I do, but there's certain questions that I have to be comfortable within myself. And from the minute I was diagnosed, Dr. John Lunn has made me very comfortable. I heard the voice that says you're not going to die. And after I heard that voice and I encountered Dr. Lunn, he came with a spirit of compassion on him. He treated me like I was his own child.
Listen, that's amazing when you find a physician like that.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
that in Dr.
Yeah.
Patterson, so I
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
what you mean.
And
It's a
the
special
thing about it is I don't call names, right? But I have to give him what is due to him.
Absolutely.
And it's 16 years later, and we still have an amazing relationship.
And we want to honor the people that
Yeah.
are helping,
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
saving lives
Yeah.
and dedicating their entire
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
making sure that we survive.
Yeah. So, the whole process of, advocacy, and working in the community, going with the patients, listening to what they have to say.
So
And
you
then
were holding hands.
yeah, and then going back to the doctor and saying, they don't understand this. Could you explain it to me so I could break it down to them or break it down to their families? And that's really how I got involved in the whole working with the patients. And then, my girlfriend was diagnosed. I didn't like some stuff that happened with her process. And so I started writing letters, and I went to the Ministry of Health, and I went to the Cancer Society, and I was like, what are you guys doing about XYZ? And the Cancer Society was like, okay, why don't you come and work with us? And that is how my journey began, with me volunteering at the Cancer Society.
When did you transition to a mission? When did this stop being something that you were able to do to something you were passionate and driven to do?
So the mission, actually, so I worked at the bank, Citibank, and my position at the bank became redundant. But before my position became redundant, I got this itch that I wanted to do something more.
Say that word again.
I got this itch that I wanted to do something more.
More is one of my favorite words in the dictionary.
Really?
And for the very reason you used it. All right, so let's continue.
Yeah. And I was volunteering at the Cancer Society. I started a young adult community called Freedom Survivors, and this was a support group for young people. That was my first mission. And I was working at the bank, and I was at the bank, and I could not focus on my work at the bank because all I could think about was this community of young adults at the Cancer Society. And at the time, Ride for Hope was coming around, and I've never heard of Ride for Hope before. Susan Roberts, the founder of the Cancer Society, she said, I presented to the Cancer Society that our young adult support group wanted to go. And she bought us 10 bikes.
Wow.
And there was Jeff Major from Jar Cycling. He taught us how to ride.
Wow.
We had no idea how to ride. I mean, you would think it's simple as going and jumping on a bike, right? Yes. But Ride for Hope is not just go and you jump and ride,
Yeah.
because it's like 10 miles,
And
20
hills,
miles,
it's
and
a little
hills, and
hilly, and yeah, it's a different
so
story.
every Saturday we would go. He would, we would ride from Goodman's Bay to like Life of Key, so we could get in at least 10 miles. That was the minimum, and we don't cycle. So this is once again building community. The cycling
Yes, it
community,
is.
the cycling community
Yeah.
pretty much adopted us, and they used to ride with us on the weekends so that we could learn how to ride.
Lovely.
And I went to Ride for Hope, and I came back, and I'm still at the bank, and this is a different bank now from my
Yes.
first bank. And I'm sitting there doing my work, and I'm like, I ain't supposed to be here. Like, I need to go. And so my girlfriend was like, you can't leave. And I said to her, but I have to go. Like, I'm done here. And she was like, mm-mm. So I said, okay, you know what? I'll hold on. And let me tell you, that itch became just unbearable. And one day I was sitting at my desk and I got a call at 4:59, come to HR. And I went to HR and they said, pretty much in a nutshell, we're making your position redundant. We have a check for you.
What?
And that was the happiest, saddest moment of my life.
I can relate.
And my desk was already packed up because I was just waiting for that moment. Like, I had already cleaned everything, swiped my computer. They didn't have to do nothing. All I had to do was pick up my bag and leave. And I walked out of that building. And as I walked out, I cried. And I called my dad. And I was like, they fired me.
Because that's the initial reaction.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the initial reaction.
And so I left. And I left with my check. And I got a call from my oncologist. And he said, listen, we're about to start a project. And we want you to be
and what was the time frame between walking out crying and the call from the oncologist?
It was probably maybe, so it was probably maybe like 4 months in between.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. And I was getting kind of antsy, like, what am I going to do? But I was still volunteering at the Cancer Society. I would have my support group meetings. I would go there. I was still working with, some patients in the community, going with them, counseling, like we go by the fort and we would just talk and all that other stuff. And so when I got that call that we're about to do this big project, and we would like for you to be a part of it, and I met, Ned, the former U.S. Ambassador Ned Siegel and his wife. They had formed the Bahamas Breast Cancer Initiative, and they were doing the genetic testing with Dr. Stephen Nayrod from the University of Toronto. And they needed an executive director for their foundation. And I was a part of the team that did the genetic testing.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
So you became the executive director.
I became the executive director.
You went from sitting in the bank.
Yeah.
To becoming the executive director of the foundation that would fight BRCA. It's BRCA.
Yeah, the BRCA gene.
Absolutely.
And I worked there for a while. And I worked with them and the oncologists. And, I had an opportunity to travel around the Bahamas. And an opportunity to work with a lot of companies here locally. Work with the other cancer organizations as well. Work with the Ministry of Health. And by that time, I had done a lot of work actually before the Breast Cancer Initiative with the Cancer Society. I mean, just volunteering with the Cancer Society, being a part of their education team, and just talking about my story. I think for me, the fact that I was so young and I was willing to talk, I gave a lot of young people now, or a lot of people, hope and a voice that it's okay to talk about your journey. Absolutely. Because I was more than willing to talk about mine.
If you don't understand it yet, to fight cancer, or to teach people how to fight cancer and how to survive cancer, is a huge mission. It's a big undertaking. And it says here that you started by reading every book and every article. Yeah. You started by working with specialists and doctors. Talk to us about the preparation for the fight, because
Um,
really that's what you are, right? You're still out there fighting as well as advocating.
I think with anything that we do, we have to understand that life is a battlefield.
Absolutely.
Everything, right? Whether it's
And we're
cancer,
all going to battle.
and we're all going to battle. And when it comes to war, and in that fight, and your opponent, you need to know what you're up against. So the only way to do that is you have to educate yourself. And so I had to educate myself
Mm-hmm.
in order for me to be able to beat this stupid disease.
Mm-hmm.
I had to educate myself. And in educating myself, I realized that, and once again, I got that understanding that this is beyond me. This is about me, but not about me, but yet involving everyone.
Yeah. You're the
So,
vehicle now.
yeah,
You've become the part of the
right.
battle, right?
So I read everything on um, prevention, diagnosis, survivorship. I mean, you name it, and I've read it, right? So nobody can come at me with anything because not only am I reading it, but I've lived it. And even in terms of, you know, treatment options, I've done it, been there, done that, did it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Working with the doctors, I had an amazing, and I still do have an amazing relationship. You know, we
Mm-hmm.
have our highs and lows, and I respect them for what it is that they do. But I had to go through some things to understand that, okay, this is your part and this is my part.
Absolutely.
I'm going to respect your part, you respect my part.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing, honestly, is just, you know, I really had to educate myself. If you go into war, you when you aim to shoot, you need to know what it is that you're shooting at
Absolutely.
and have some idea of how that's going to come back at you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Talk to us then about two things I want to explore with what you just said. This idea of going to war and getting equipped for the battle. What were some of the obstacles? What was some of the trouble along the way? And did you ever feel like giving up? I love that face. Is that the
Did
face that
I
says often?
did I ever feel like giving up?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the thing about it is it's been 16 years. And I think from leaving the bank to the work with the Cancer Society,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like at the end of each transition,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my God, I'm done.
Yes.
I'm done.
Yes.
Like I don't want to move on. That's it. I'm done with this. And now the quest is calling me with this
Yes.
because I'm done with this, right? So at each step, and at each step, it's a blow because even at the end of my journey with the Bahamas Breast Cancer Initiative, that was a painful blow.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally got the passion knocked out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I can let you wait on the book to read about that.
Okay. I'll be buying that book. That's one book I will be buying.
So I got the passion knocked out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to realize and I had to stop, take a break, catch my breath.
Mm-hmm.
My breath is so important.
Yes.
And I always speak of this breath,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if there is no breath, there is no life.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally got the life knocked out of me. So I had to step away and take a moment. And I had to basically look at the entire community and see what had went wrong and how do I now fit back in. Because something that I wanted to work so badly, it failed.
Mm-hmm.
And when I tell you it knocked the life out of me, and I felt like I didn't fail me, but I failed my Bahamas and I failed all the women that I was fighting for. And it was deep.
Mm-hmm.
It was like it was unbelievable how to the point where it took the mentors, the coaches, the therapists, and I, if that's what, to me, that was worse than cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the cancer, I ring that bell and I was like, whoa, I going home.
Yes, yes.
But when that happened, it was like, remember when we talked about the bird? It was like, I need to go back in my cage.
Okay.
That's how bad it was.
What were 3 or 4 important things that you had to do to move forward?
When it came to the part of the failure, I had to forgive myself first. Forgiveness was a big part of it. And having that conversation with Melissa, what would you have done differently? You didn't communicate the way you needed to. Okay, because there was a part of me, that ego, that, you know what, I could do this.
Yeah, by myself.
By myself.
Yeah, you're gonna cure the world of cancer all alone.
When all along, it was never about me.
Absolutely.
And mind you, through the whole process, I was saying this is a spiritual journey.
Yes.
But there was a point where
you lose sight.
Yeah, yeah, and in understanding that, I had to start all over again. So I had to forgive myself, and I had to forgive everybody that was around me and everybody that I was blaming, because I was going hard at them. And I was just firing some words that was just unbelievable at them, you know? And once I was able to forgive, and it wasn't even necessarily having a conversation to say, I'm sorry, forgive me, but I forgave within myself. And whenever we met again, it was almost as if it was brand new, like nothing ever happened. And I had nothing to hide, because I didn't do anything wrong.
Yes.
My ego was trying to make me believe that I did something wrong.
Absolutely.
So with that, it was almost as if, and then that's where the shame and the pride and all these other stuff come
and their
from.
distractions, all of them.
Yeah. And so understanding that, okay, Melissa, you didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes you fail. And, working with my therapist, and with her helping me to understand that failure is a good thing. And I have a coach as well that I work with, and saying, you know what, you have an opportunity to rewrite your script. You're the architecture. You could draw this plan however you want it to be.
What are you proudest of when you think of the work that you're doing and what you are helping to, just your contribution? What are you proudest of?
My voice. I am.
It's a beautiful voice.
I'm very loud. And I can appreciate my loudness now. I honestly, I can. Like, just up until recently, I've been getting, Melissa, you loud.
But it's an energy. It's an energy, though, that people need when they're fighting. Like,
I'm at work, I work for Solomon's Fresh Market, and I'm at one end in the store, and the manager's like, why can I hear you?
Yeah. It's your passion.
I'm loud.
Okay.
And I've realized that, you know what? This voice is very important. So there was a time where I didn't even want to open my mouth, and now I just. So it's the voice.
I think. Complete the sentence. I want my life to represent.
Gee, I want my life to represent. I want my life to represent freedom. That has been from the beginning of my journey to now. It's always been about freedom. Everything has always been, I just want to be me. I want to be free to live, free to love, and free to be me.
I love that.
Yeah.
Free to live,
free to love, and free to be me.
And free to be me. And you sat here today and you looked at this bird and you said, do you know I like birds? Tell us why you like birds.
I because they're free. There is nothing more beautiful than a bird that is allowed to fly in their environment and not be caged. The Maya Angelou,
Yes, I thought immediately of Maya
her
Angelou.
book,
Yes,
right?
cage birds, huh?
Cage Birds.
And
And I bought the book just because of the title. I've
yes,
never read the book,
it's
right? The
very
book is still,
poetic.
yeah, it's still home sitting on, but I just love the title
Yeah.
because there were so many opportunities where I felt like I was that cage bird and I just wanted to be me. Just wanted to be me. And I'm just now at that point where you could throw that cage away.
Finish the sentence. Being me means.
Being me means being loud.
If there's one thing you're gonna learn about Melissa tonight is she is loud. But loud represents something important to you. And loud represents what?
That's just it. It's like it's hand in hand. Loud represents the freedom. It's just it's what it is. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's that sound. You can't go anywhere. I heard the sound when I was in the shower. The sound said, "You will not die." So it's like I am now at that point where I have connected all of the dots,
And you want your voice to be heard.
and I my voice,
It's making a difference.
yeah,
Your
yeah,
voice is making a
yeah.
difference.
And as long as I can be me and I'm not caged, it's good. And there is breath. I know that we are in the present moment. That's all that matters.
I love that.
Anything before this conversation, it has absolutely no bearing because we are right here, right now.
So there are going to be a lot of beautiful women who are cage birds at our conference.
Yeah.
They're disappointed, they're tired, they're battling, they're lonely, they're afraid, they don't know what to do next. Um, they need to know that cage birds can fly. What advice do you have for them?
Um, the community makes the biggest impact and the biggest difference. And I think being a part of a community like the Power of Her, right? That's the first step because we were not designed to do life by ourselves. I mean, Jesus had his 12 disciples, right?
I love that.
So go get you some disciples.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you might need to find one Jesus 1st,
Mm-hmm.
but a leader,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we all need leaders, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to follow in someone's footstep who has already done it, been there, done that, did it. I am only here today because I had that coach and that mentor and that therapist. And mind you, that's three different people. And then there's my husband, right? So the coach, the mentor, and the therapist.
You know, I can't tell you how much I've learned. I mean, like honestly, Melissa, I could talk to you for hours, I'm sure. But I'm honored
Yeah,
and I'm blessed
yeah,
and I'm better because we did have this conversation, and I know that you are too. Listen, you don't have to stop here. You can have more of Melissa. She actually hosts a show, and it's called The Pink Press, which is a health and lifestyle radio show. Not only that, she's available to help you if you go into Solomon's Fresh
Yep.
Market. She can help you learn how to balance your plate and shop with you so that you make smart decisions about your life and your health.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to come and have that walk, by the way, and I hope
Let's
you
do
are
it.
loud. Prepare to be loud that day. We're going to have some fun. But you don't have to stop here. You can reach out to her because she is community and she understands community and
Yeah.
she wants you to share in the community. And especially if you are somebody battling cancer tonight and watching this, please know that you have an advocate. You have a lady who has been through the fire, who has experienced, who has come out healed, who is fighting to prevent a recurrence of cancer, and
Yeah.
I think to help other people prevent a recurrence of cancer. So you know, you have access to her now that we've introduced her to you, and
Yeah.
I just want you to make sure that you tap into this is the reason why we're bringing you these wonderful and magnificent women. And Melissa, I just want to say thank you for sharing with us, thank you for blessing me.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
This was good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we're going to bring you more of these women because we want you to learn that there is no battle too big. There is no battle that God will not equip you for. And so you can fight any battle. This is your proof.
Yeah.
Peace. It's been real.